Hi everybody, sorry about the looks like a jump in the videos. It wasn't intended. What's happened is yesterday I've only got 2 batteries on my for my camera, and they should last about an hour and a half each, and unfortunately it went down just after I put the crank in. I've actually rebuilt the drive side, the clutch, and I reshimmed the gearbox yesterday, simply because the video wasn't for that. It was only supposed to be the top end anyway, but I got sort of sidetracked in doing the brakes. They're all on, there's no play in there now, you know, perfect. It was a missing shim and oil seal, or grease seal in this case. And what I'm actually going to do is, I don't know if you can see that, I'm putting a slight spacer on the back wheel, so I'm moving my hub towards us as we're looking at it. Also as well, I'm going to be fitting the mag housing, which is what I built yesterday. We didn't grease it because obviously it was hot, and I've got new gasket set. It's a high quality one from I've got this from Scooter Restorations, long story short. And yeah, it's fine, it's dandy, and it's because it's my own engine. I don't care that it was an expensive gasket set. Oh, I don't want to drop that. That goes on like that on the mag housing. Now you can put, if you want to, some sealant on here. What you don't really want to do is space this, unless you need to, away from the crank. I know where I'll turn the engine around so you can actually see a little bit more of what's going on here. All I've got to do really now is just inside here fill this with grease. I bought some new grease today, but it looks like I've got enough in there to do it. A good bearing grease will do. Granville, I'm not sure who makes that, or but I've used it on a few engines now without any issues. Again, I just need to keep this clean. I've got a wipe because it has been down on the floor overnight, cooling off from yesterday. Bearing rotates nice and free. There's no damage to the oil seal. So what I'm going to do now is pack this bearing. Let's take a nice big blob and feed it in on that bearing. Rotate the bearing while you're doing it as well. You don't need tons of grease, just fill it so it's level with the bearing rollers. That's probably a little bit more than that, should do. It always amazes me how much oil can actually, or grease can actually go in there. You've got to bear in mind that the crankshaft's going to be in here as well, so you don't want it to be pushing out the grease, so it's too full. Right, I'm quite happy with that. It's about level. I don't know if you can see all that. It's about level. So I'll just get my rag and give me a wipe again, and I'm just going to wipe off a bit of the excess around here. It should clean off anyway. And what I just need to do is, if you remember, if I take off this bolt, or nut I should say, I need to learn what's a nut and what's a bolt, don't I? Because I call them back to front all the time. And what I'm going to do is just put a bit of grease on the bearing race, and as you remember, I'll tap that on with my trusted tool. Didn't use any heat. No need to use any heat, to be honest. So I'm just going to put a dab of grease on that bearing liner, and also on just on the tip of the crankshaft, simply where the oil seal rubs on the crank. So we'll offer this up, and what I suggest you do with this is just keep turning the crank while you're doing this. Set in place. It should just slip on nice and easy. Turn the crank while doing it. There you go, that's just pushed straight on with no effort whatsoever. Brilliant. Really happy with that. And just clean all the grease that comes out from the outer seal. I can actually still see just one marker and a little bit there where the stator plate was. So I will see what setting that was set to. So what I'm looking now for is my nuts and washers, which should be in here. One, I think they're fives. Yeah, they are. Two. And our last one, number 3. And I'm looking for the other 2 nuts. Right. And you just put these on. Again, as you know, I always have the writing towards myself. And what we're going to just do is nip them up lightly. In fact, I can use the screwdriver part just to screw it in at the moment. Okay, I just want to check, but yep, the crank's moving nice and free. In fact, I've got quite a bit of grease on that, and I can put my nut back on again just to protect my end of my crank. Remember, that's a left hand thread. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a slightly more robust ratchet. And just tighten them up bit by bit. That's fine. Maybe a tad more. Just to make sure. I'll give my hands a wipe. Oil seals on the end of the crank. Crank's in, and we don't need them nuts. Just making a bit of space because I'm just going to turn the engine casing around so you can see we're coming up now to be putting our top end back on again. So I'll cut away, and I shall cut back in again in about 2 minutes when I've moved this engine around. Right, I've turned the engine around, and surprise surprise, this is not being opened up at all, which I think everybody's in agreement now. It makes little or no difference whether you port them or not at the bottom, because there's only so much. The restrictions are in the barrel. I would always, machine these and make, rub them with a Dremel and machine match the actual mag flange in. Apparently it makes no difference whatsoever, so and that's coming from somebody who's tried both. I can't think of the guy's name. I think it was Daryl Taylor. He built an engine with all the porting done, all the bottom end porting done, and one without, and they made virtually no difference. So and while I was moving the engine around, I've took the time just to give the piston a bit of a clean up. I've not gone mad on it. Like I say, it's not done a million miles, this engine, so I wouldn't say that it needed polishing, etc. But it's quite a good engine. Well, it has been up until now. There's no reason why not. It doesn't continue to be a good engine. It's got me to places and back again with when I open it up, quite a good turn of foot. So I always find that with the gasket stuff, you're better off to get your fingers on it and just spread it. Don't put too much on, because again you're going to move your ports, and we don't want that. They're big enough on a Rapido already without making them bigger. I'll run a 48mm exhaust with it, a VHSH 30mm carburetor, which is pretty good carb in my opinion. Right, so I've just done the one side at the moment, so I'm going to stick that on, slide it down to the bottom, and just move the crank up so it doesn't get dirty from that, and then just push that into place like so. And what I'm going to do with the opposite end when I get round to it, I just need to clean that crap off my ends, excuse my French. What I've done is I've opened up for the reed valve that I did. So what I'm going to do is put the small end bearing in and offer the crank up, and sorry, the piston up. If you look on there, this is a 70 piston, it's a 1, and it's also got an arrow or a triangle pointing to the exhaust. Make sure that you put it in the right way round. I pushed it in too far with my finger, but again, just line that up loosely, and as you could see, I'll push the gudgeon pin in with my finger. I've already changed these clips, gudgeon pin clips. I just need to get my long nose pliers and put this one in as well. Again, I always like to have the circlips on the bottom. Bit greasy there. It's a nightmare with the camera bang where you want to stand, to be honest, but needs must. Again, that goes into a groove in the piston, not turn like it's trying to do on me. Again, this will take 2 seconds when you're not got a camera in the way. That's nearly in. That's in. And just turn it left and right, leave the clip pointing upwards, and I'm just going to check this side that is indeed the same. Sorry, I'll just kick the camera again, and it's nearly. And I'm just going to give that a wipe. a bit of oil on it. What I want to do now is, when the barrel's in the way, just give that a kick to bring it down so that it sits in the bottom dead centre more or less. What I'm doing now with the cylinder is I'm just going to give it a wipe out and clean off the gasket face. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put some of that gasket sealer that I use on it. It's got the silicone sealant on it at the moment, which you know, it's done the job, not leaked. Just it's a bit of a bugger to get off. I'm just cleaning the bottom of the skirt of the cylinder wall. Make sure the ports are clean. The top end of the cylinder. And the exhaust is good. I keep touching the gasket stuff as well, so what I'll probably have to do is push it on, bring the piston up and just put a bit in there. In fact, let's bring up the piston, that's it.